And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to a Spiritualism Lyceum night, coming to you live from Paul Christian Spiritualist Church here in Dorset. And our very special guest tonight it is such a nice gentleman. I have not really interacted with our guest tonight, but where I have, I've just found him such a kind, gentle gentleman. So a great delight. We laughing at a great delight to introduce our guest tonight, Steven Trolland. Steven, good evening, sir.
Good evening, and thanks for asking me here. It's a privilege, absolute
And
privilege.
ours. Before we commence on tonight's talk and the topic of the journey, a life lived and how spiritualism intertwined with our lives at whichever stage and what that means to us today. You have a piece that you would like to share with us.
Oh yeah,
Thank
certainly,
you.
certainly. This is something that was very much inspired by my soul, and it's called The Spirit Within. And I hope in some ways that there might be some that may have heard it before, but because life evolves and life goes on, and naturally we evolve as a soul. If you've heard it before, because came from the soul, I hope in some way that resonates with your soul and maybe tells it in a different way than last time. So I'll leave this to these words. It's called The Spirit Within. Walk with me. Take my hands. I am that silent power within you. I am you, and you are me, wrapped around sky and tree. I hear your prayers and your thoughts. And out of the billions of people in this world, we together are unique. And together are one and only beautiful you. The voice that you hear is your own. I am that higher consciousness within you, living a silent power of expression. If you nurture me, that silent sound, my voice, will echo onwards through your life like ripples in the water that can touch your mind and carry you. Take my hands and embrace me. My voice can be your freedom at will, from the chaos from within your worlds to where we can be still. A true power that will show you only truth, because I taste the essence and the sweet nectar through the power of life that carries you. Through your eyes I see the beauty. Let me share with you. I can see each and every moment that time holds no boundaries upon. I can share with you what a moment holds, a sacred space where time stands still. But yet, through my eyes, you have the time to see and take in the sweetness, and can do nothing but fulfill. The innocence that is yours, as every moment is new. My prayer, my wish, is to love you. As you grow to know me, your power, your sensitivity grows, and there are no bounds from worlds apart. As then it's possible that you are able to feel your loved ones that have gone before you, but through me, because you have been spending time with, praying, speaking to me from the heart. The love that is shared will stay with us forever. as together with their love that touches us and nurtures, loves the mind, the soul, we can see these as memories that we can forever hold. These through our lives are the jewels of the mind that we can access and share at any given time. As we come together and become one, life holds no boundaries through the power of love. You see the wonders that are within you that goes beyond any logical word in life that we are yet to discover and find. And you will feel the peace and gratitude as my love fills your mind. We can take in the wonders of life and the power as it unfolds before you and share, and bask within the gratitude and fulfillment and growing to be aware. It is a forever unfolding journey where there are the gifts of the Spirit that will never fail to help you see all the purities in life because you're sharing it with me. The love that goes beyond the physical emotion we can share. You hear me now. As time comes around from birth until now, you have begun to awaken and listen to that silent sound. As we walk this life together, we, as well as those you love, will never be apart. As long as you spend time with me, nurture, love, speak to me, pray from the heart. I love you. Thank you very much for letting me read that.
That was beautiful, Stephen. Thank you very much. Stephen the man, as we all are aware, or I'm assuming most people are aware, today is the Hydesville Day, quite an important day within spiritualism, and it's noted and recorded as the birth of modern spiritualism. So that was 173 years ago. And I thought tonight would be interesting. We live with modern spiritualism today. So it would be very interesting to hear somebody's journey as living a life and what brings spiritualism back into our lives and how we unfold and evolve with that. So Stephen's got a very interesting time span, I think, because if we go back a few years, Stephen, we would have known you for a very different reason, would we not?
Yeah, you would.
And what would that be, please?
That would be for my snowboarding and in competition. I've won 6 podiums and 2 British titles, and that's just in the British Championships. But there's many other achievements within that and within that journey. And oh my, it's just the freedom that I felt as I put my feet on the board. It's just like the board takes me somewhere. And that was it. I didn't have to think about it. It's like in some way it's like my soul was guiding me when I look back at it now, because it completely fulfilled me and it gave me so much purpose in my life. But it came with a few, as everyone within life goes through their troubles in some ways, you see. And everyone does.
Indeed.
But my snowboarding saved me so much in so many occasions. And I think in some ways it's because it was bringing me back to me and the person I was at the time.
How interesting. Yes, indeed. I mean, that snowboarding wasn't an easy route. You very kindly sent me the recording of a radio interview. Don't worry, I'm not going to play it. But I did smile, and my heart went out to you, because to fund one of these competitions, you actually had to do your own fundraising in those days and run an auction and things to get that funding.
That was absolutely the amount of times that my home village came together. They were even creating fundraising events that I didn't even know about until later. So the backing that I had from my home village, they saw something in me, and they saw probably the passion I had for it. But as politics kind of gets in the way at times, it naturally does. But at the same time, I'm so glad that I did it.
Absolutely beautiful. And that I'm at the age now where if I stepped on ice, I'll probably end up with 14 broken hips and no teeth. But going back in my youth, I know that exhilaration that you got from being outdoors and with the speed and the adrenaline, how beautiful. And I didn't know that. I love that about the whole village getting behind you and supporting. How glorious is that?
So many times.
Absolutely beautiful. But we come forward a wee bit in time. Oh, hello, the accent's rubbing off.
A wee bit.
A wee bit, thank you. If we come forward a wee bit in time here, going to the year of 2006 and the events of that later part of that year, if you'd just like to let us know what that meant to you.
It's amazing how something beautiful can flourish in time and healing over something so tragic. And that was the passing of my brother. I was out in France at the time. I'd just been to Austria and done a competition, and I was trying to text and phone my mum, my dad, my sister, and everyone like that, and I just wasn't getting through. And I just knew that there was something wrong with my brother. And at one point, it's hard to explain, especially at that time, but I just felt as if my brother filled the room that I was sitting in. And then my sister called me and said that he's had an accident and he got a brain hemorrhage, and that he was getting flown to Aberdeen at that time. So I just had to get home as quick as I can. We sat beside his bed for 2 days until eventually the life support machine got turned off. And from there, my whole world changed completely.
Yes, it would. Yeah. Sincerest condolences. It's we have an order, don't we, sort of in our mind of the procession of who goes to spirit and in which order, and when that order is rudely broken, it's even bigger shock. Interesting, though, that you had already that awareness, and although not understanding, you knew.
That. Exactly. Yes. And it wasn't until I just met a friend, and I was just interested in spiritual stuff at that time, and it's quite a while back, and I didn't really believe in psychic and stuff like that a while ago, and I was like, if someone's psychic, why can't they tell me the lottery numbers? But that wasn't until I started experiencing the language of the soul and how it actually works in some ways. And I think it's quite good for someone to be skeptical, but at the same time open, like I have. And it actually started to prove itself to me. But anyway, I found a spiritualist church, and I just sat in one of the seats next to a lady, and she speaking to me, and it felt very comfortable, very well welcomed. And so And she says, I'm so interested in how this actually works. And then she introduced me to the circle leader, and I got invited into the circle. And then through that, I found the Arthur Findlay College, and so on. But a little bit before that, I was watching, a lot of people may know he's quite a famous medium, John Edwards. He was on the telly for the time quite a lot, and I was just so interested in it. So I ordered his CDs and things like that, and that was to learn to meditate. And meditation to me was quite difficult. Trying to focus. Actually, I didn't really know what it was at the time, but over time, within that trying to focus and the spending time, just giving time, I started to naturally heal. Excuse me. I started to naturally heal, and I started to feel better within myself. And I started to, I went to, because we're surrounded by the most beautiful area up here in the Highlands, and I went up into the top of a hill, and that's where I sat most of the time, nearly all the time at the beginning. And it's amazing how it's, to me just now, when I say these words, they may be just words to people, but to actually experience it, that's when you'll actually know what I'm talking about. And that was being at one with everything around me, and looking down on top of the treetops as the wind just bent all the tips of the trees, and watching it going all the way up, one gust of wind just making all its patterns all over the hills and stuff like that, and the clouds, everything was just moving, as we know now, through the natural world of cause and effect. And then that's when I started to, as I say, started to heal. But it wasn't until I really went to the Arthur Findlay College is when things started to open up to me a lot more there. As many people have gone through those doors, it just sets a seed within the soul for us to nourish, really. But for me, there was no going back. I remember one time a great teacher, pioneer of the day, many people will know her, Mavis Patilla. I was in her class, and I was actually, that was the year after this, the second year I was there actually at that time, and I was in her class, and she said, why are you here? Why are you here? I want you to go away and have your lunch and stuff. And there is a real answer for that, you know. So we went away for a lunch, and we come back, and she's asking us for some answers. And people saying, because I want to heal, because I love it, and so on. And she said, the real reason is because you can't do anything else. You can't not be. And I think that's like your soul speaks to you, moves you, guides you, and that's the most important guide in my life, if I could put it like that.
Oh, indeed, absolutely beautiful. And one thing I really do love, and I do need to mention just for my own peace of mind, when you said you found it difficult to meditate, I thought, yes, somebody else. I am the world's worst at meditating. It's I don't know what it is. I will find it.
yeah. But sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But I'm not saying that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And when I say these words, I certainly don't want it to take away from anyone else that's had an incredible experience and had comfort and experiences through meditation. But for me at the time, because I know it resonates with some, I was too busy trying to visualize and create, and okay, we're going to pick up this flower and then we're going to head up the mountain, for example. I'm making this up. So at the time I'd figured out what flower I'm picking, everyone else was already way up the mountain. You see, it's like I just couldn't do it. And then eventually you'll go into this cave and you'll meet your guide. And I never met them there yet. And that was because, for me, that was because I was so busy visualizing and creating. How do I not know? How do, like, I could have created that myself. It might not be actually true and real. And why do we need to go somewhere into a cave or something like that to find our guide when they're right here? All we need them is blend with our soul. So all we're looking at is creating a condition and not creating the results. Allowing the soul and the spirit world to do that. And that's my view of it.
And that's the beauty with spiritualism. It recognizes and celebrates our individuality and our own uniqueness. You know, we haven't got, thankfully, that you must meditate this way and you must walk up this hill, you know, because if it did, then I don't think I'd be a spiritualist very long. You know, we encompass everybody as one of the most open religions, I think, going. Where the whole focus is on finding you.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. I asked myself this question in the beginning as well. It's like, am I a spiritualist? And the answer that that came to me from myself is, I'm me within the spiritualist movement, and that's what a true spiritualist is. Because they're allowed that uniqueness of self, and again, we've got the 7 principles, which is open, and where people can relate to so much, and for people that have not had that experience of spirit, of soul, of God, there's still that natural way of life to look at. I remember listening to, there was something that was called Science in the Seance Room, and that was on YouTube, and it was going back, and it was the BBC a good few years back, and they're talking about science and spiritualism and so on. But I heard this couple who actually took the Lyceum and taught the children at that time, and they said, we've never had, as the way he described it, it was a shimmer of a shake, meaning like the phenomena of any kind. What we're doing is it's the way of life, teaching them to be good people, good, honest people. And I think spiritualism offers that also. We're quite lucky.
Very much so. And it's a continually unfolding religion on a national, a local, and a very personal basis as well. That unfoldment continues on. You mentioned there the 7 principles, and I will be totally honest, the first time I read them, I didn't have the depth of understanding that I do today. You know, I look at personal responsibility, and I thought, well, you know, quite tidy, and shoes, fine. You know, hair's fine. Yeah, what's the matter with that? But it does, you know, as the more you delve into it, the more that you talk to people, the more that you read, the more that you hear, and the more that you experience.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No. You
mentioned the principles. There's such a beautiful feeling of, to me, the most important one is the fatherhood of God, meaning just embracing God, because that encompasses all the other principles in its own. And it's that experiencing God as well. That's when we start to experience ourselves, because God's within everyone in some ways. And then when we start to have that experience of self, and then the other principles fall into place, where it's like your soul, your own spirit speaks to you and tells you the meaning, gives you the meaning, rather than having to think about it with a logical mind, a logical brain. And I think when we talked about it's like the belief in God, and I think it's quite difficult at times where years ago when someone mentioned God, that's only because I didn't know what God was. Is he a big man in the sky, in the clouds, or whatever? And it's not until I experienced God is there then I found me, and I found the most beautiful thing, and that is reverence. And I think when we have reverence, like there falls into the brotherhood of man and so on to me just now as I'm speaking about it. And it's just, and as we move forward through life, they can speak to you in a different way, just like I mentioned in the beginning when I read the Spirit Within. For those that have maybe heard it before, it'll maybe speak to them in a different way because life's evolved, and that's the beauty about it, as you mentioned. It's a continuous evolving beauty that we are so lucky to be part of.
Indeed. And very interesting that you bring God into this, because this has been one of these global thoughts that have been going around at this time. You know, we are all picking up psychically or through the psychic network of the world, and these same thoughts and ideas. And one of them very prevalent at the moment is our understanding and our relationship with God. What does God actually mean to each and every one of us as an individual? And as you say there, you know, is the big fella that we've been accustomed to, that's been ingrained, or how do we envisage that relationship? And that's really heartwarming. That really is heartwarming to hear that people are reattaching and re-examining their relationship with a God.
And it wasn't until like when I came into this movement is when I actually realized all those years ago I was connecting to self and God all the time. When I was going through difficulties with my sponsorships, for example, and finances, as mentioned before, because I had to fund or people helped me fund thousands of pounds to travel to races and so on. It wasn't always the races that it was the best to go to. It was the ones that I could afford to go to as well, to do with points and systems and all that kind of stuff. But when I was having troubles, and even just naturally everyday life, how often do you see someone like on a beach gazing out to the sea, losing themselves in that beautiful vastness, where what I did at the time when I was training, I would go running by a river, because of the beautiful area we are here. It's clear, crystal clear water in the rivers. You can just drink straight out of them. I walk now, not so much running anyway, but when I went away with something that was a troubled question of how am I going to get out of this situation that I am in at this time, for some reason I always came back, not always with the full answer, but a stepping stone that leads to another one, that's the catalyst of. And then I think when we look to many other people within life, that they're not, may not even be spiritualists and just being themselves, that they've got their own way of connecting to that higher consciousness of self and losing themselves, being by nature, looking out into the sea, looking into the beloved eyes of their animals, their dogs, and feeling that unconditional love and so on. It's a reflection of self in some ways.
Indeed. And it is by just immersing yourself where possible in that nature energy, or that contemplative moment with music or flowers, whatever, you know, grabs you, that you actually, your soul does talk to you. That deeper level does say, you know, it'll be all right. Try, you know, think of this, think of that, see really what's going on. How interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
The question here from the lovely Sue Townsend. Do you also now lose yourself in the great inner vastness?
Yes. I don't always have to go walking by the rivers and so on. Excuse me. Because I know many people haven't got that just out the front door. What I do is I sit every single day, every morning. But all I do is um, just sit, take my awareness to the breath, and relax. And the more the physical body starts to relax, therefore the brain becomes in some ways less active, and it allows that soul part of you to manifest within their awareness. And it's not always like, oh, there's my soul. How are you doing? How are you doing today? What are you going to tell me? How am I going to? Where am I going to go? It's just simply being, and that's it. It's okay to have like thoughts, because it's natural through the world of cause and effect that one thought leads to another. But over a little while, it's that it becomes like a deep contemplation at times. And that's where sometimes of where your answer's coming from, because when you're in a deep contemplation, you're in a little bit of an altered state, and therefore you've let go of the everyday, and it allows that inner part of you to speak to you. And I never go and sit for a specific purpose. I go and sit to be. And sometimes there, when I'm in that space, the spirit world will join me. Call them guides, if you like. I call them inspirers, friends. And then all they do is just simply blend without giving any information many a times. Because there was one time I was contemplating this. Get to know your guides. I've heard this so many times, and it's not wrong. Absolutely not wrong. But for me, what worked for me is when I was sitting contemplating this, my friend, one of my friends came close and blended. And he says, it's not about you getting to know us. It's about you sitting with reverence and allowing us to get to know you, but within the blending, within the power. And therefore, that's where the relationship starts to build. And as they get to know me, I will become to know them, who works with me. And it doesn't always have to be names and so on either. It's just simply, I know my friend just wants to be known for the person that he is, the love that he brings. And that's the best friendship in my view to have. So I've gone on a little bit on about inspirers and that there as well, but it must be for a reason. And it will certainly is to try not beat yourself up if you're trying to meditate and so on. Just sit, relax, take your awareness to your breath, because when we beat ourselves up, you cause more strain there, and it becomes more difficult. You end up focusing on it too much. When you focus on something, you give it your power, and we don't want to do that. So I hope that helps in some way, because it must be for a reason why I've said all that too.
Indeed, it really has, because as we have been talking throughout the last year, one of the very common questions or common statements from people is, I don't know my guides. How do I get to know my guide? And it's sort of like we've all set ourselves this nadir point of a goal and a target of to do what we need to do. I must know this. And it's sort of like you've just put that in a whole new context. And I know by some of the comments coming in, you've really rung some bells with that. So well done. Well done. That was beautiful.
Even listening to like Gordon Higginson's got a website. There's so many downloads of workshops and some things that he's taken. I would recommend one's called The Other Self. There's 2 different parts to it, and then he goes into that. But I remember in one of them, I just remember him speaking about the guides and the friends. Can you imagine what their what their perspective is? You'd be saying like, why do you keep trying to get us to do it your way when you're still trying to understand it? Why don't you do it our way? And we'll help you.
Yeah.
Because if we want to learn about the spirit world, the best people is the spirit world ourselves and our own spirit.
Indeed. Very, very much. Comment here from the lovely Joan out in America. Joan has recently-ish found spiritualism and found a great sense of purpose and understanding for her religious background. And this is a question I know a lot of people are asking this in whichever wordage suits their philosophy or whichever's. But yeah, people are saying, why at this time is so many people going home? That is a heartfelt plea from probably half of humanity at this time.
Yeah. It's just when we talk about, does that mean, why is God calling so many people? So many people going to the spirit world. And if we look at it, yes, we grieve. I mean, I've not got the whole answer for this because everyone's unique and how they grieve as well. But the way I'm looking at it at this very moment in time as I'm speaking, I'm kind of letting my own soul guide me here, is when we look at the bigger perspective of life and what spiritualism teaches as well, there is no death.
Yeah.
There is no death. And home is also here just now, as we are spirit here now as well. And that's what I feel from that there. So I hope that helps in some way. And obviously, we've got this virus and so on, but there's so many other things happening in the world as well. But one good thing is I'm pretty positive we're going to overcome it, and our churches will open again as well, because it's come through in demonstrations and stuff that I've done as well. So that's what I feel.
Wonderful. Yeah, and well answered. Yes. It's a very emotive question, and to answer it is one of those questions, if you answered it slightly wrong vein of energy, it could cause a great deal of upset and offence.
Yeah.
But what you said was beautiful and fully go along with that totally. And in response...
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
that's nice. That's nice to hear.
Mary Dixie here from London, just a statement. It is trusting in spirit because they will not let anything happen to you to your detriment. And again, it's sort of like, what levels are we talking? Our spiritual detriment, our physical detriment, our soul detriment? It's very broad arena, isn't it? These.
Yeah. And there's one of the principles as well, is our own personal responsibility comes into our own actions, about maybe, I wouldn't say it's the spirit world that are letting bad things happen and so on. It's just, as I said, we've got personal responsibility. And once we take on that, we can then, again, it kind of leads back to selves. We find purpose from self as well. And yeah, that's what I feel.
You've got a fan now.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Yes, true. So when you started to unfold as a medium here, you write in the article that I'd read about you that your brother actually played a part in that as well.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah,
massive. There was one. It might not be in the article there, but one amazing experience that happened is when, again, I was trying to meditate, and it just didn't work. And excuse me, and then I just had the inkling to put on. It was Tony Stockwell's CD. I think it was track 7, and it was about meeting. It's called Healing the Wounded Soul. The CDs, and this one was to meet someone from one of your family members, someone from the spirit world. And as soon as I put it on, because I'd already sat for an hour, and I'll just add this in there. Sometimes it's not always what you do when you sit, but how long you sit, because it's learning your own art of surrender as well. So it's try not to look for things. I just had to add that in there somehow. But the experience that I had, the voice and the music just completely fell to the background. And I just felt my brother so close. And there is absolutely no words in this world that would put into perspective the closeness of how we were at this time, because he came so close, and it's like he was crying his tears through me, and my tears were his tears, the emotion that we had. But the point I want to make here is we were that close. There was no words needed. There wasn't even a conversation needed whatsoever. And I know as I'm saying that, it can only try and trigger thought of people of trying to imagine what it felt like, and it's quite difficult to give an answer to that as well. But at that time, I just sat there for so long, being so close. Two souls as one, in his presence. I should just say in the presence of each other. And then after a little while, he started to withdraw a little bit. And that's when the conversation of minds started to come in. And this was at the very beginning of my journey here. And my sister's quite spiritual, so I could have spoke to her. But what I saw was my nephew. If I got an image of my nephew, I saw a rubber duck, and then I saw a football, and I got nothing else from that. And then I went to message my sister to say what happened, because I know that she wouldn't think I was mad, you see. But she messaged back to say I saw a rubber duck as well, sorry. And she said that my nephew had just finished the bath playing with his favourite rubber duck, and now he's watching football with his dad. So, but many people look at that and say, wow, that's really good, that. But it's not even, it doesn't even touch the moment that I had with my brother before that. And I've never had a moment like that again. But it's there, and I know I feel him quite a lot, so I'm quite lucky that way.
Wonderful. And I do relate on that energy level. When my mother had just passed, and very shortly after, my dad fell seriously ill, and I do mean very shortly after. And I had an experience where I saw my mother, and I hugged her, and we were together. And then my dad joined her, and I knew what they were telling me. But you know what? To today, I can describe every blade of grass. I can describe everything, every emotion. If I were artistically given, I could sit there and paint it, because it's so much deeper than a mind link. It is, like you said, it is two souls becoming one, and it's awesome, absolutely awesome.
Because being touched so deeply in a level that, as I mentioned before, that has no words, it's that feeling and that knowingness as a medium, just and as a spiritualist as well, is what we do our very best to try and offer for other people to experience, whether it's in workshops, in circles, or even when you're a demonstration or giving a reading. because there's that beautiful saying that information can touch the mind, but the presence of the Spirit can touch the soul.
Yeah.
When I go back to sitting in that presence of God and of yourself, that's where the presence comes from. That's where the relationship builds. The spirit world need that connection that we have with ourselves more so. Because it's when we sit in that place that's when all our senses naturally evolve, clear seeing, clear hearing, and so on. And once you're in that space, and that strength, the more we sit in that space, should I say, the more that strengthens. So when the closer the spirit world come, they're able to give their information a lot stronger as well, but more so because you've started to build your relationship with self and the presence of self. That once you're in that space, it's natural laws. We talk about auric fields and so on. It can fill a room. It could fill a room, and that's when the words touch the souls of the other people, and it gives them so much more meaning, and it speaks to them in their own individual way and through the beauty of philosophy and a prayer, for example. But if you think of the spirit world, someone's loved one, when they come close within that space, how much those words are going to be able to be felt by the recipient that's maybe wanting to hear from her mum, and her mum comes close. I've had many sittings where they've said they've actually felt their loved one there as well. And I think with the feeling, that's, as Mavis Patilla says, it's the anchor to the spirit world, is the clairsentience, and all the other ones can blend with that.
Fascinating, absolutely. A lot of people totally agreeing with you there on their own experiences where they have actually felt spirit on one degree or another. Absolutely beautiful. So we're at this time now, Stephen. We are at this time where we're forced to take this step back from what was, and we're now bordering on that time to step forward into the what's going to be. So have you got any thoughts or direction on your own journey here, working with spirit and spiritualism going forward?
Moving forward,
yeah.
I remember when I feel many churches are looking for the younger generation to come in and take over. And I'm certainly not taking away the word church, because I know there's reverence and beauty, and it's just everything to me anyway. But if we had centre as well, spiritualist centres, it could bring, you could even run like church services in a centre as well. And I think I heard something about Gordon Higginson saying something like that as well. Eventually, might become centres as well. And I think looking at that, trying to look at the way forward, and the music, you see, there's something, we might say, okay, play more up-to-date music, but that's not exactly always true. What we really need to, what I feel, is a blend of the both, because maybe the up-to-date music would touch the younger generation, but we've got to think about the power and what it creates within the environment of a church, for example.
Yep.
If we have many people that come to a church that are used to singing hymns and love singing hymns, it's that oneness and that power that we need within the environment for the service to really manifest itself in a positive, not in a positive way, but in a beautiful way. And if we have say that many people that are used to singing the hymns, how great thou art, that one touches me so deeply. For example, and everyone there loves that one. That's going to create that strength and the power within that environment for the service and for what's to take place there, whether it's mediumship, philosophy, and so on, because we need that oneness. And then we also need, if we're looking at younger generations, is something else that can touch them as well. So it's trying to find a happy medium of both, and looking at the power that it's going to create within a centre or a church. I think we need to look at both of them. But I think it's within the power and what it creates is the key to sustaining the medium, for example, through a service. Because it's all about the conditions that are created, isn't it? To how long we can sustain our link to the spirit world and so on.
Very much. Yeah, do you know what? That wasn't the question I asked you. However,
Sorry.
However, guess what I'm working on at the moment about how are we going forward, not only with our online, but with also our church. So actually, you've just given me a message. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Bless you.
That's what I thought you meant. It just came in on me. So
just send me the bill. That'd be lovely. But as you've picked up on that, yeah, you're quite right. You really are right. Through the medium of the online experience, that has opened the doors to other generations of what spiritualism is about. So there is this potential now electronic version of centres going to start to evolve.
The SNUI as well. The SNUI as well. And it's just it's connecting the world together, isn't it?
Very much. Yeah. We had here at Poole, our last divine service, we had speakers from Scotland, Ireland, the UK, Denmark, Menorca, and Australia.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, just how awesome is that?
The dear friends that we meet along the spiritual journey and unfold in our mediumship as well. We've been so lucky that we're able to share the platform with them eventually, because they live like 300, 400 miles away from me.
Yeah.
So like my friend Adam Berry and many other people have been so privileged to share the platform with.
I'm glad you said your friend Adam Berry, because he is in the room tonight and he said hello. But yeah, picking up on that vein, I agree totally with you going forward. And I think also our churches and centres are going to have a lot of work to do, because we are going to evolve into a different sociology, a different society, and it's going to be shifting a lot. There's going to be, this is my idea of going forwards, that societal bases are going to shift a lot for quite some time. And people are going to be asking questions. This is going to prompt a seeking, a yearning for knowledge of what is like, you know, the biggest question: why am I here? Why? What am I doing here? And this is going to invoke a really big surge of people coming into our places of worship. There we go. A nice generic term.
And also online, it proves that there is no distance through the language of the Great Spirit, because that's what connects us all, the language of the soul, our spirit within, if you like to put it that way, because it works people from all over the world, and certainly sitting in circles and stuff like that online as well. The power that's created, even though they might be like in Canada, for example, it just proves the greatness of God in some ways, the Great Spirit, however you want to look at it.
Indeed. I mean, in this time of remembering our ancestors, we are going through such a pivotal moment. The SNUI, as you mentioned earlier, that had been going quite some time. That wasn't a new addition. That was going quite some time. But we have our own physical concepts of how spirit work. And the thought of going online and doing a reading was just like 2019. You would have gone, are you mad?
Yeah.
What's wrong with
I
you?
also know that there's many churches, because this has opened up,
Yeah.
it's made it possible for people that can't travel and people that are sitting in care homes and stuff to be able to come into a church service, for example, or a demonstration. Because I know there's many churches that are still going to do online stuff as well, just especially for that.
Very much so. We are one of them here at Poole because who is it? Kylie, lovely lady from Australia, and she loves coming into not only Poole's site but other sites because she's 600 miles from her nearest spiritualist church. And
Yeah.
she's got a great thirst of knowledge, and she's also got that inbuilt natural something. Do you know what I mean? When you talk to her, there's spirit is sort of there, yearning for fulfillment and information and enrichment and development. So definitely the Pandora's box of the online spiritualist experience is here to stay. And like all things, there will be practitioners we go, yes, that's great, and others we may look at and think, okay. But it's evolution. It's natural evolution.
Finding our way.
Very
I just
much.
see lots of other friends that I know on here as well. Susan Brothwood as well. There's many others.
Yeah, Adam's holding court here in the chat room. Yeah, carry on, mate.
It took me a little while to know to press there, because I was in the private chat before and I was wondering how you can see the comments and I couldn't, but eventually I figured it out.
So yeah, and it's not only if you are in a town or a city as well where there are the options. We are meeting people from all over the world and all different practices and making friends, and learning.
And for those that are unfolding their mediumship as well, because if they go to, let's say, like the SNUI, because there's so many walks of life and different cultures joining in the same place, how much more information is going to be open to you within your mediumship? It's just giving yourself that freedom there to experience that. So in some ways, we can throw caution to the wind rather than playing it safe as a medium. In some ways, you can throw caution to the wind, and it's amazing how it works.
Yeah, man after my own energy, is try these things. People say, why are you doing this? Are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I said, because we've got to try things. We've got this whole new medium here, this whole new way of linking up. Yeah. So try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, okay, go back a bit. Where did it stop working? And try again. And spirit also, through my understanding and my communication with my inspirers, are working just as much as we are. They haven't got this magic head on, where they go, oh yeah, well, we understand that. They're working just as hard to think, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, we can do this. We can maneuver this. So absolutely beautiful. Your new number one fan. But yeah, a really good and valid point. No spiritualist churches near me or circles. Over in Philadelphia is the lovely Joan.
Completely resonate with that, because my nearest, the church that I'm involved with, is the Inverness Spiritualist Church, and that's just like 35 miles away. It's not too bad, but trying to say follow the education of the SNU, for example, was quite difficult when I was living up here, and I was going back in time a little bit. There wasn't the comfort of the SNUI. It was quite difficult to find opportunities to fill in your logbooks and so on, all these things that you need to do to be part of the full education system. So I completely resonate with that. But one thing I will add to that, at the time, it was the best thing. I realize now it was the best thing that happened to me, because I didn't have anywhere to go to sit into a circle to practice and so on. What I learned to do is sit for self. And then when you get to know self, you get to experience God. And therefore, then that's when you get to know your own energy. And if you know your own energy, and then you're able to know when other people from the spirit world, they join in and so on, different other energies, should I say. I don't want to talk of them as energies, but people.
Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. Stephen, you were so nervous. I will share that. I'm sure you won't mind. And I have no idea why, because you've given us an absolutely beautiful evening. We feel, though, at the end of this evening, we know Mr. Steven Trolland that little bit better, and we've all got something, at least, that we can take from tonight on our own development pathways, be it mediumistic healing, standing on the door saying hello, chairing. It matters not. Do you know what I mean? You work for spirit, you just open yourself up to all the potential and possibilities. Absolutely wonderful, Stephen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for such an enriching time.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Absolute pleasure. Next week's speaker is yet to be confirmed, so it's going to be a surprise. But thank you for joining us tonight. If you are interested and wish to catch up on some of our previous Lyceum nights, these are available on the church Facebook page. Also, our YouTube channel, PCSC, just search out under channels. And also the other many interesting and varied nights we've had, our link-ups with the Spiritist Society and our spiritual talks on a Saturday night, plus our online services, which are streamed live from here within the church. But once again, Stephen, absolute joyous. Thank you so much.
I thank everyone that's joined as well. Some beautiful comments that I'm seeing there. And thank you too.
Yeah, wonderful. Good night, everybody. God bless. Look after yourselves.